Hi, everyone. People often ask me what led you to get into the area of defending people accused of crimes. And the answer to that question really dates back to the early 80s when I found myself falsely accused of a crime. One day, as a sophomore in high school, I walked into the boys' locker room and the water faucets were turned on. There was water all over the place. And I just began to turn them off. I started turning off the faucets when, guess who walked in? My football coach. "Kerns, what the hell are you doing?" "Well, Coach, I'm turning them off." "Bullshit! I know you, Kerns." And in that moment, I became charged, convicted, and sentenced because I didn't get to play in the next game. All because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So having that personal experience, led me further to go off to the University of Kansas. And there I was inspired again. I was on the Kansas football team and we were ranked about 200th out of 200 teams in the nation that year. In fact, I'm proud to say I made Sports Illustrated in 1986. And the article was "Worst Defense in America." So suffice it to say, I was an underdog. And we were always underdogs in every single game. But I found that I kind of liked being the underdog. And so I think that also added into the decision that I wanted to go into this particular area of law. But probably the most compelling reason was a book that I read my senior year of college by a legend in the legal community, a man named Jerry Spence. And for those of you that follow the legal community, you'll know exactly who Jerry Spence is. He took on the nuclear industry and Kerns Silkwood case. A movie was made about it where he was able to, recover damages on her behalf. And then in Ruby Ridge, when the ATF fired upon Randy Weaver and his family, he not only won those criminal charges on Randy's behalf, but he also sued the federal government, making them pay to Randy over $1 million. So it was those kinds of life experiences that made me decide that this is what I wanted to do. And so I started the Kerns Law Group. And ever since then, it's been a battle. But what I like to say is inspired by Spence, inspired by men like Martin Luther King, who said, "A threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Meaning anywhere on the planet where people are being abused, where people are being taken advantage of, where people are being wrongfully arrested and prosecuted, that's a threat to all of us. And we need men and women willing to step in the gap between those power structures and the citizen accused and say, "Not on my watch. I'm going to stand in the gap and you're going to have to get through me to get to my client." And so that's how Kerns Law Group began. And I worked early on for some other lawyers that gave me similar inspirations to continue, criminal defense firms, to continue in this line of work. So when people ask me, how this all began, it began with a kid in high school wrongfully accused. It built into a decision, kind of fermented in college, and then later on, after reading a book by a man who still inspires me today, 27 years later. So I'm Kirk Kerns with the Kerns Law Group. Thanks.